What is up, YouTube? So, video number 2 for you here today. This video was a little bit unexpected. I finally decided to join the Raspberry Pi 3 club and picked this up a couple weeks ago. It took me a little while to figure out which case I wanted to use for it, but I did finally decide on one from Kuman. Link is going to be in the description. Primarily because that came with a wireless keyboard, a power cable that actually had a button on it to turn it on and off, the heat sinks, a cooling fan, all that good stuff. So you'll see this as this case is being assembled. Again, I will put a link to that product in the description, but I thought it was a pretty good deal for everything that was included, especially given the reviews on that. But what I did find was the documentation for putting this case together was atrocious. So I figured for anybody else that might be looking for a video on how to actually assemble this thing, I would give it a go. So here we go. In general, it's starting with the base plate, four plastic screw posts, and then we start assembling the pieces. In general, they just alternate white and black. Really the piece that I struggled with the most is at what point in time do you insert the Raspberry Pi. So first it's that piece. Again, you can see some of the challenges with this case. Not necessarily the most fun, but looked pretty cool when it was done. So next piece that you want to install is this piece. These grooves that you see here, you want to put those facing that direction on the Pi, because again, micro SD card is going to be over in this space, and those gaps are for these components on the Raspberry Pi, the HDMI, the micro SD, and the audio out. So that piece drops in second. I had originally made the mistake where I actually put the Raspberry Pi in under this, and ultimately the case was just not fitting properly. So once that is in, you'll find that everything sits pretty snug in there, and then it's simply continuing to alternate the pieces. This one, you'll see I actually broke. A little bit frustrating, but that's alright. Still works fine. So again, keeping in mind where the SD card is and where all the components are, this piece slides in over there. This piece slides in over the Ethernet port. Then we have this piece. Again, following the previous concept, slides right in. Next piece is this one. Followed by this one. See, now I've done it again. There we go. Followed by this piece. And lastly, we're going to talk about the cooling. Before I put this piece on, I do want to point out that based on my read of the instruction manual, the only heatsink that you can get on in this case is this larger heatsink. I've used the Raspberry Pi a little bit with some emulators, haven't seen any problems with it yet, so I'm going to assume that one is just fine. So with this cooling fan, ultimately it's going to go on the top row, the row closest to me, the second to last, and the third pin, with the red cable being on the second to last. So just like that. Flip it over, drop it on, and that's it. Then you can just screw on the plastic screws, and we'll see how we did. So now you'll see that the case actually assembled pretty well. No gaps as there were in the first time I assembled it. Looks like there's adequate space to be able to plug everything in on the micro SD and the HDMI. Hopefully that's the case. We'll test that out in a minute. Everything has enough space this way, and we should be good to go. I will do a follow-up review at some point in time, planning on dropping newest version of RetroPie on this, and we'll continue testing out some of the capabilities of this fun little pocket device. Any questions? Hit me up below. Thanks.